Your history shapes you.
All my life, that's all I ever wanted to do was be a racing driver.
I'd say I was probably 14. The switch flipped in my brain to really start taking it as seriously as possible and dedicate my life to becoming an IndyCar driver.
My dad and I were always major into it. Our #1 passion was racing.
Go-kart school in Las Vegas, and that's really when I fell in love with racing, and I knew that this is something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
Your heroes inspire you.
I think the biggest person, though, had to have been Dan Weldon. Just the kind of character he was off the track and how humble and how amazing he was.
My hero was my dad. He was my #1 supporter.
We did, Ed. We did it, man. Pull up the 500. How about that?
But also where I learned a lot about who I wanted to be as a man.
Your heartbreaks test you.
My biggest one was 1992.
If a man ever deserved the accolade of this gigantic crowd, it's Michael Andretti.
We totally dominated the race, and only a few laps to go, and the engine quit.
The car slows, and Michael appears to be done.
There was times in my career where, I didn't know if I was ever going to race again. I was going back to school.
The racing heartbreaks, they stay with you, man.
And James Hinchcliffe will not make the Indianapolis 500.
And your dreams drive you.
Oh my gosh, Alexander Rossi, what a move!
Great job, great job. You always want to add more. It comes down to winning, but you want to win the Indy 500, you want to win the championship, you want to be contending for race wins on a regular basis.
I would love to say that we won the race in Toronto a couple times and given the home crowd something to cheer for.
My ultimate dream have to be to win the Indy 500. I can't even begin to describe how I'd feel.
You show up to win, you don't show up to finish second or third. Anything less than winning is not that interesting to me.
The 9th round of the 2022 Indy Elite Series season takes us to Texas Motor Speedway. They say everything's bigger in Texas, and tonight it's one of the Catalyst 317 Triple Crown races, 167 laps to determine a winner. We have a tie at the top of the point standings, and we have a couple races left to shake it all out. Kyle Heyer joined by Finney Nakuda tonight for our second of 3 Triple Crown events this season. Finney, welcome aboard. Everything's bigger in Texas. The banking, the speedway, and the speeds here, 200 plus for the entire duration of a lap. This should be fun.
Yeah, definitely, and you can also add the stakes too. I mean, you were just mentioning the tying the points between our points leaders, Andreas Ike and Robert Malechka. Was thinking it would take maybe a few more rounds for Ike to get up near the top, but he's right there and ready to go, and he's been extremely consistent. Malechka, after a crash out of the race last week at Laguna Seca, cost him a handful of points, allowed Ike to catch back up, and now it's pretty much a dead even heat these last 4 rounds for the championship, as Ike is slowly working his way around the track and gaining speed for his qualifying lap.
Qualifying underway already for our 167 lap Triple Crown feature event. Time's already on the board. Chris Cahill atop, but you mentioned the tie in the championship between Robert Malechka and Andreas Ike. Andreas snapping a long winless streak. His only wins previous to the one last week were at Kansas Speedway a couple seasons ago. So he's finally broken through, and on a road course as well at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. But that momentum is there for the 76. It trailed off at the end of last season. He is on top of the world right now in Indy Elite.
Yeah, you're seeing now he's going to be at the top of the timesheets here coming through lap number 1, 2. And just seeing these guys do that slow first lap and then just fast second lap, I guess really just preserve the tire life to its maximum, get the most out of the tires, and get the slowest time, or the fastest time, I should say, across the line for Ike. Let's see, does he go to the top of the standings? Indeed he does, with a very solid lap, 0.061 seconds faster than Chris Kao. Malechka now out on the track, starting his run.
That was a really solid lap for Andreas Ike, puts him on provisional pole, and Robert Malechka gearing up right now for his laps. And I've noticed a couple drivers doing this, running slow speeds on their out lap and then gearing up on their first, and then having the second lap be the flyer. An interesting strategy call here on the qualifying laps to optimize potentially, I guess, tire temperature or engine temperature.
I think tire temperature is also, I think, a little bit of tire wear as well. I think just, again, these guys are fighting for hundreds, thousands of a second. So you may not think it may matter, but it definitely does matter in the grand scheme of things. Jason Brophy across the line. He's going to take pole away from Andreas Ike by 28 thousandths of a second. It's very close up at the top.
Misspoke earlier. It was Kentucky that Ike had his previous wins at, not Kansas. Thanks for Josh for correcting that. Robert Malechka now. Jacob Oster for Team I5G goes third quick. He's got a new teammate in Alexis Newsome, and Newsome goes second. Car red, white, and blue, as all things should be, I guess, here in the state of Texas. But where's Malechka? Here he comes out of turn 4 across the line. 24.022 puts him 10th quick. That's going to be a fairly disappointing lap, I'd think.
Yeah, even last week, too, was in the fastest in qualifying, and same situation here. He's going to be stuck back in 10th, and again, he's really can't afford more bad races. He's been finishing pretty well. Last week was the real first big blunder for the season for him, so curious to see how he's going to rebound. I mean, 10th is not a terrible starting place, but definitely could be a lot better.
Well, qualifying is complete. Jason Brophy is going to be your pole sitter for the Catalyst 317 here at Texas. Alexis Newsome second, then Andreas Ike, Jacob Oster in the rest of that second row. A couple minutes to take a moment here and debrief after WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Our upcoming schedule is as follows. Of course, we have tonight's race at Texas. Then we go to Worldwide Technology Raceway next week, actually 2 weeks from today on March 27th. That will be 150 laps at Gateway. Then Long Beach will be our last road race of the season on April 10th, followed by the 7th annual Indianapolis 500 presented by Catalyst 317. That's going to be a very special SimTV production, so don't miss that one on April 24th. Well, so we've got 4 races left, 3 after tonight, Finian, and a tie at the top of the championship order. This has been one of the most competitive seasons I can remember here in the Indy Elite Series, especially at the top. The top 2, Ike and Malechka, just going toe-to-toe. It's a bit of a gap back to Andrew Wood, Stouffer, and Joe Branch, but none of those drivers are out of the mix quite yet.
Yeah, really the only other closest battle was between Adam Blocker and Philip Kraus, and I don't think that championship battle was as close. I think Ike and Malechka might beat it. I'm not sure the exact numbers, but both were pretty close. But I mean, considering these guys are at a dead heat tie going the last few rounds, I think you obviously can't get much closer than that. Can you see how much it's going to maintain? Here we can see maybe Malechka start to find his footing a little bit more in these later few races, or if Ike's going to continue his momentum and maybe get another win or so and claim the championship. We'll have to see. These next few weeks are going to be really interesting, though.
Warm up now, just drivers getting some final laps in before the race kicks off here tonight. This track, Texas Motor Speedway, after the repay fitting, we've seen it be fairly racy here in IndyCar, but there's a lot of consequences, and drivers will set up their cars to be very trimmed out, very fast in a straight line, and what that takes away is your downforce level, your stick in the corner. We've seen a lot of crashes in turn 2 and on the back straightaway since they repaved this place. That's been the trouble spot. We'll see if it continues tonight.
Yeah, I'm curious to see, especially, I'm sure these guys are out here and they definitely enjoy the fact there's no PJ1 on the track. They're talking about in real life, even though the PJ1 hasn't been applied for quite a while, it's still there on the track and they can't use the bottom lane or even touch it. But here they can run all the way around the bottom side of the track. You can see right here Matt Halva working his way through.
Watch this as he comes out of turn 2, gets up the racetrack a little bit. Watch the hands. Right in corner exit, just a little correction to the right. It didn't look like much at all, but I promise you that was a big slide there at the exit of the corner. Just was chasing the car up the hill, and I think we're going to see a lot of drivers do that. There is definitely a racing line that you stick to, and if you're out of the rubbered-in groove, you can go for quite the ride at the exit of the corners.
Yeah, turns 1 and 2 definitely a lot more tricky, especially after the repave. They made the turn flatter for some ungodly reason. They thought flatter was better, but it is definitely not. So it's a lot trickier coming out of turn 2, especially when you're in the wake of someone else in the dirty air. That car's going to find that wall very quickly. 3 and 4 not as much, they remain the same. So, and usually 4 hasn't been too much of an issue in the past. I don't think it'll be much of an issue tonight, but you never know. Really, you never really know.
We're on 7-app 0 right now. I guess that's 7-Eleven appetizers. I don't know what's going on up there at the top of the pylon at the moment. But Robert Malechka, quickest here in the warm-up, ran a lap time almost as fast as his lap in qualifying. So still probably in qualifying trim at the moment. Chases the 27 to Craig Forsythe into turn 1, and that's going to be a real issue also is traffic. If we get into lap traffic, Vinny, and you're kind of all vying for the same room, and with this track being so fast, there's going to be a lot of what I would consider pack racing for Indy cars tonight.
Yeah, that's how I'm curious to see how long these guys can be able to stick to it and how long it's going to take for the field to spread out. For the most part, they look like they're able to follow pretty well. Again, following is one thing, passing is always another. As Malechka practicing pitting down the pit lane, I think it's a good suggestion to anyone out there because the races we've had have been pretty green. I guess knocking my wooden desk here. Milwaukee was particularly green for quite a while. A lot of strategy involved in that race ending in fuel strategy.
Logan Simmons, the 92, relatively new to the series. Alexander Ball, we've seen in the past there. He is in the intense racing number 12. And he has not yet set a lap here in warm-up, I should say. And will put his first lap down, but only a 39.7 as he warms up here. So, 167 laps. This race is going to be a little bit longer than usual, Finney. These races are typically pretty short and favor sort of sprints, but in a longer, I don't want to say endurance race. It's clearly not that, but 167 laps is longer. Does that change who's at the top of the order?
I don't quite think so. I mean, typically we see, especially as we've had a lot more, I feel like green flag laps in this season in particular. We've seen a lot of the guys who prefer longer runs are better at managing their tires over the course of the run in the course of a pack. I think they're the guys that you'll see typically near the top of the standing, top of the running order, I should say. So I don't think we're going to see too much of a change in order. Again, I'm just curious to see, as we haven't really been to any speedway so far this season. I don't think so. I mean, we've been to some short tracks, we've been to some super speedways like Michigan. I guess Montego would be the only other type. I guess we've been to Kentucky. Kentucky. I forgot about Kentucky. I think everyone forgets about Kentucky.
Oof. Yeah, Finney's not a fan of Kentucky, clearly. But it's time to go racing. We're to head down to the racetrack, and we'll start rolling through our starting lineup here in just a moment. But have a quick look at the weather tonight. Of course, racing into the sunset. Very cool and pleasured temperatures. 68 degrees Fahrenheit in the air. 70 on the racetrack wind. 7 miles an hour out of the southeast. Going to be a pretty nice night for racing here at Texas Motor Speedway, and that is going to mean high grip and high action and intensity here tonight. Time to roll through a starting lineup here, Finney. Let's not waste any more time. Let's head down to the racetrack, and here is your starting lineup for the Catalyst 317 here at Texas. On row number 1, on pole position, the number 88 of Jason Brophy. He'll start alongside Alexis Newsome and her new team, I5G, in second place.
Yeah, very solid qualifying position. I think her highest of the season. Yeah, indeed, it is her highest qualifying effort. We'll see what she can do. Andreas Eichen going to be rolling off from third place in a very solid position to get some good points. Jacob Oster next to him in fourth in the 09 car.
Starting in row number 3, Pablo Diaz in the number 22. He'll start alongside Chris Cahill in sixth, the number 57.
Moving on back, you find David Adams in double zero. Next to him, Joe Branch in the 28th in 8th.
Ninth place, Chris Stouffer, the number 13. Robert Malechka rolls off 10th, the number 91.
Dan Inch can be lining up in 11th and 52 with Evan Adams next to him in the 59.
In 13th place, Flynn Lazier in the number 3. AJ Musselman rolls off 14th in the number 54.
Back in 15th in the 31 car is Tony Schau. Next to him, Craig Forsythe in the 27 and 16.
17th place, Alexander Ball in the number 12. He'll start alongside the 02 of Matt Hollaba in 18th place.
And row number 10 is going to be the 26 of Aaron Roofs in 19th. Next to him, Mike Ketchel in the 04 in 20th.
21st place, Charles Ante in the number 86. John Downing rolls off 22nd in the number 21 car.
In 23rd, we find Logan Simmons in the 92. Alexander Van de Sande all the way back in 24th. He's going to have a long night ahead of him. And rounding out your field at 25, Marshall Stanley in the 5 car.
And Wayne Hunter did not grid. He will not start with the field. He could start from the pits, but that is it for your starting lineup here. The Catalyst 317 from Texas Motor Speedway for the Oval Indy Elite Series in 2022. Only 3 rounds remain after tonight. Fourth to last round of the season at Texas Motor Speedway. Brophy in the 88. He is the one on pole. He is the man in command as we come out of turn number 4 and onto the front straightaway. Alexis Newsome on the outside. 167 laps. Green flag flies, and we're racing at Texas. Laps go by really quick here. Brophy out front. Andrea Sykes slots into second. Right behind Alexis Newsome in the number 63. She's going to go up to the top side. Pablo Diaz, Christopher, and Oster behind. Everybody fanning out in 1 and 2.
Yeah, Darius Ike wasting no time putting himself in second place. Curious to see how aggressive he's going to be early on. Oh, already has a look to the inside of the 88.
Into turn 3, Andreas Ike takes the lead away from Jason Brophy and goes to the top of the board after his win last week at Laguna Seca. Tons of confidence in this number 76 camp, tied atop the standings into turn 1, and they're all fanning out again. Lots of lanes here early in the race. A bit of a surprise to me.
I'm not too surprised. I mean, hey, they paved the racetrack. You might as well use it. Everyone trying to get the cleaner. Don't be stuck in the derriere. It's just going to slow you down, make you use more tire, if anything. So I think a lot of guys just trying to get some clean air to their nose as much as possible.
Jason Brophy into second place. Behind them, a little bit of chaos. Alexis Newsome dropping down to 5th. Kind of committed to the outside there. Oster and Cahill closing in from behind. Cahill was fastest in practice prior to qualifying. Right now runs in 7th. Some single filing out happening now. A bit deeper in the field. There's still some jostling for position, but the battle is still up front. Ike and Brophy go for the top spot.
They're going to see a lot of this up near the front where everyone is facing that cleaner, no slipstream, so they're pretty much exposed from guys in behind, guys more racy like Pablo Diaz, Alexis Newsome, Christopher, also really racy in behind.
And Newsome right up against that arm, or the safer barrier on corner exit. Diaz in the 22 to the bottom of the racetrack. And Pablo Diaz, again, was a winner back at Motegi, so I'd expect him to be really solid in that 22 car, and goes to the outside here early in the going. Might try to go the long way around Andreas Ike. One car way high. It's still Newsome all the way up against the blue safer out of turn 2.
Yeah, and to mention too, her new teammate Jake Foster, those cars looking really well. I mean, starting 2nd and 4th. So clearly they got something pretty solid with their package, at least in qualifying. Let's see how the race package is, but both of them still inside the top 7. Just kind of biding their time again. No real need to push at this point. 167 laps, that's quite a few, are only down 7. So if you're up near the front, better off just kind of waiting your time. And sure, maybe see some guys in front who want to lead a lap, like Ike. I think that's why he was so aggressive, trying to get to the front, start leading laps, pick up those points. But Diaz getting a solid run to his outside.
And Christopher up from 9th to 3rd, +6 in the first 8 laps of the race. And if this race goes green from start to finish, it's only an hour and 4 minutes. It's really not as long as maybe I would have even predicted with the pace that we're running here. 24.5-second laps, very, very quick. 22 of Diaz on the outside, trying to go the long way around Ike, Stouffer, and Brophy behind. And Stouffer is poking his nose right in this mix up front.
I haven't seen a whole lot out of him in the last few weeks. He's been fairly quiet. 4th in the standings at the moment. Last finish was ended up finishing.
Charles Ante is slowing on the apron in turn number 3. So didn't see what happened, but he has dropped to the tail here.
Oh, he had a bit of a he hit the wall off in turn 4 and had a spin through the infield grass.
Yeah, I saw some smoke on the front straightaway. I knew something was up.
Yeah, that was him. That was him. So he's definitely knocked suspension out of line. So
trouble, Chris Cahill. He's in the wall and has damage here on the outside of the 3rd corner and is still in the fence. And a strong run early is going to be curbed for Chris Cahill. Here's a look at it. Turn 2.
He was just slow out of the corner, caught the wake of the car in front of him, and you just go flying through that wall. Nothing you can really do once you lose the air. It looks like he's able to limit that car back around. He's going to have to go again. I don't think he was able to get down in time off of turn 4 because the pack coming through. He's got the limper on again, but no caution. We remain green.
Alexis Newsome right back into the mix. Stouffer slots between her and Diaz on the outside. And Newsome has been kind of riding that upper groove. But we saw how when Cahill crashed, he went from the bottom to the top, and that's when he crashed. If you're already up there, there's less slide and less ability to understeer into the fence. If you're running the outside already, you don't have as far to go to the fence, and that might mean that the contacts are less punishing when you finally do get up there.
Christopher running right in behind Diaz. Here's what he's going to do here again for Christopher. Highest finish this season, 2nd place. That was at Michigan. But that was only top 5 of the season, so definitely due from some more solid finishes, and I think he's looking at tonight as a really solid chance at the moment.
Some positions being swapped midfield, but the battle up front has never stopped happening. We're going to be 3 abreast for the lead for a moment. Diaz slots in front of Stouffer. It is all on at the front, lap 13 of 167. These guys are racing like it's lap 165.
Yeah, race is on again. Everyone trying to get some points up near the front. I mean, you're so close to getting it, just leading a lap. worth an extra point or so. So guys trying to get as many done. Ike definitely counting the mileage up in that department.
Pablo Diaz again, a winner back at Motegi. And Pablo out of
caution.
Mercia, Spain, and Alexander Ball is the one with the trouble. And immediately a reset back to the pits, but here's a look at it.
Oh, this is an interesting one out of him. Not what you expect. Actually gets loose right there.
Well, this is what I mentioned in the pre-race, is that we see a lot of accidents like this because you'll set the car up to be so loose that it's easy for it to step out of line. But a caution out early, just based on everyone understeering so far this race, it is a little bit surprising that our first caution was for an oversteer moment.
Yeah, I'm also surprised he reset back to pit lane. I guess he's trying not to bring the caution out, but now he's kind of going to be in a bad place. He's got to wait for that tow, but he's going to be back a few laps down.
Well, I guess he did that to try to prevent the caution from coming out, but unfortunately, to get sideways, the caution's already out. He just did nothing but hurt himself at that point. Chris Cahill back on track, just blazed by the pace car. He's 3 laps down. Charles Ante is still in pit lane. I can't tell if he's in the car. No, he's out of the car. We'll see if he'll jump back in, but his night might be done pretty early on.
Yeah, he's still in the server, though, so we'll see. I think he's maybe just waiting for some repairs, because he dinged up that car pretty good. Although that being said, Chris K also dinged the car pretty good, and he's already back out on track.
Well, caution out for the first time here tonight.
Ooh.
1 car on pit lane, and a bunch are going to
follow.
follow.
Of cars down pit lane, except for Andreas Ike. I was going to say it's going to be interesting who's going to want to pit. You don't really need to, but a lot of people deciding to.
Andreas Ike is a lonely man out there right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's always the unfortunate thing as a leader. And these guys can go about, I wanted to take a look here, I have the numbers. Guys can go about 40 to 42, 43 laps on a tank.
Looks like Stouffer is going to beat
Pablo
Diaz out of pit lane. Diaz almost ended up in the barrier on throttle. The 88 of Brophy is in his box a long time and will come out of the pits in 19th, and contact with the 26 of Aaron Roofs.
Oh. Yeah, looks like 26 of Roofs apologizing for that. Feels like he was the cause for that collision.
It is on board the 88. Oh, was Brophy out of the car? I think he was out of the car.
Yeah, I think he had...
Awkward.
Oh, he had to turn something on his rig. So that he had to jump out of the car and adjust something.
All right, well, shouldn't be major damage to deal with there, fortunately. But running order after 17 laps on the left-hand side of the screen. Andreas Ike, the only driver not to pit that time through. Only man.
Yeah, I don't think, I mean, really the only thing that's going to affect him is, I think, the fuel mileage. I think tire life, I don't think is really too big of a concern for him.
There is a caution light malfunctioning over in... Oh, no, it's not. I thought I saw one that was out of sequence. I was going to point it out, but...
It would be really realistic, I guess, right?
Maybe.
One's malfunctioning.
Jason Brophy heading back down pit lane. Maybe to... Oh, there is some front wing damage, actually. Just a little bit, but you can see on that front end plate.
Yeah, I guess might as well. He was already near the end of the pack anyway, so, might as well get it fixed and sorted.
Harm no foul. Up on the jacks again. Well, beautiful sunset here at Texas Motor Speedway. Again, the weather tonight, great for racing, and I think the low track temp is going to help the overall grip. That might be why we're seeing more understeering than oversteering. I think we've run here hotter in the past with a variety of different cars, and it always seems like turn 2, if you don't understeer into the fence, you're spinning on the back straightaway. So far, it seems like the stability is there in most of the cars up front.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what these guys are going to do later on in the run. If this kind of guy is just, biding their time, or if they were actually pushing to get the lead. Because it definitely looks like it was possible, more so in the earlier laps than the middle laps, which I guess is what you and me would both expect. But we'll see as the intensity ramps up later on, if they're going to be able to push a little bit harder for that lead, especially with a late race restart.
So Andreas Ike, I would expect that he would fall backwards, but we've seen this season that tire fall off doesn't really seem to play a huge factor in terms of lap times. It's more just how the car handles. So I'm not sure that Andreas is going to drop like a rock like he would in a stock car, but I don't think he's going to have a very fun time trying to race amongst all the other cars that have fresh tires.
As the leader, I think he has a really solid advantage. Leader, one of the hardest cars to pass with the Indy car. So I think he's going to be the hardest one to pass. Once he gets back in traffic, I think we may start to see him struggle then. But again, he was running in clean air nearly the entirety of that run. So I think as far as tire life, I think he's probably in the best scenario out of anyone. The only concern really for him is going to be fuel mileage. He's going to be down about 15 laps compared to everyone else in that department. So that could maybe bite him later on, or could help him later on. We don't know. It's very early on.
Robert Malechka in pit lane, getting it topped off in fuel, it looks like, out of DeWitt, Michigan. Winner of the first couple races of the season, and now tied with Ike, who is leading the race for the points lead. And he will rejoin the field in 20th place, has some work to do.
Yeah, really surprised to see him so far back down the standings. But in the running order, I should say. But again, just a lot more work he's going to have to do, and just putting himself back in a scenario like that may not work out for him. So he's going to have to be a little bit careful being back there.
Andreas Ike rides the rim, coming to the restart here after our first caution of the night for Alexander Ballspin at the exit of turn number 2. Ike in command of the field in that number 76. And coming to the green, lap number 20 of 167 in the Catalyst 317. Great launch for the 76.
He's going to have to be careful with getting such a great launch, because they're just going to reel him that much faster back in. And Christopher immediately gets around Chris Cahill, who is a lap car. So these guys, I think, are going to get by him fairly quickly. Make quick work. There you see Pablo Diaz making his way on by Newsome and Flynn Lazier. Flynn Lazier also showing up for this round. Made his start last week at Laguna Seca, so I see him back on the grid and running well up near the front.
Expecting lots of shuffling towards the back, because guys like Rob Malechka and John Downing making secondary pit stops, and Pablo Diaz way high in 1 and 2, and so is Stouffer. Wow.
Yeah, I think, again, we were talking about tire temperature earlier on. The tire's not warmed up yet. For Ike, they're warmed up already, so he's able to just kind of go away. These guys maybe need a lap or two to get the tires up to 10. Diaz already on the back of Stouffer, going to look a little bit to the outside, heading off into turn number 1.
Diaz on the outside, Stouffer on the inside, and Newsome all the way to the bottom of the racetrack.
Here for Stouffer. Here comes Newsome, as you mentioned, with a great run on the inside. Would not able to quite get to the inside of Stouffer, though, by turn 3.
This is what makes me nervous. Fresh after a restart, drivers racing drivers. They haven't yet raced tonight. But the front of the field, the top 10, has looked pretty similar throughout the season, so these guys have had lots of experience running around each other. And Stouffer definitely is tracking up the racetrack in turn 2, but it's actually working for him now.
Yeah, I think their tires are definitely now working in a much better state. He's going to get a huge run in 3 and 4. Going to use the slingshot on the front straight away. I don't know if it's enough of a run to clear Ike, but he's going to get awfully close to doing it.
Into turn 1. Stouffer on the outside. This is where Ike's going to struggle, trying to hold underneath the 13, and Chris Stouffer takes the lead off of turn 2, and he is clear.
Yeah, very solid job. Did a great job just getting that run in 3 and 4. Was able to perfectly ride in behind Ike without any wash, so I think that helped him out a lot. Diaz trying to do the same thing, and Ike also going to do an over-under on him on the front. Then you see Stouffer, big block on Diaz, as he knew he had the run.
Flynn Lazier had to check up big time into turn 1 as everybody stopped on the binders into turn 1. Ike squirts out of turn 2 on the high side. Look at Diaz and Newsome, the run that they got, and just behind, Oster and Adams are side by side.
Yeah, Adams with a big dive to the inside on Joe Branch. Different Adams. 2 Adams there. David Adams, Jacob Oster fighting for position. I was also looking at Evan Adams and Joe Branch fighting for position in behind them.
Newsome again, trending to the top side. Kind of an interesting line. Oh, one car on the wall. Oster hard and smashes into the barrier on the inside.
Oh, and Newsome's teammate's going to be pretty much out of it, or going to have at least a chance to repair, but out of the race at the moment. Huge hit off of turn 2. I'm curious what caused that.
That was a pretty nasty impact. Let's go back and have a look. Just understeered wide out of turn 2, and it just clips the fence and slams into the inside wall. And that was a huge, huge hit.
Oh, I'm hearing a wreck up on the top side. I think Evan Adams. Yep, contact with the wall for turn 2 for him. Turn 2 is claiming car after car.
Adams has a lot of damage on that car as well. Here's a look. It's going to look identical, actually. Almost the same. It just hits the outside wall, and one car scattered to try to miss him.
As he limps back to the pit lane. Don't take me out, coach. I can still race.
No, you can't. He's out of the race. Meanwhile, for the top spot, here comes Diaz on Stouffer.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Evan because he's running up in 7th at the moment, but as you mentioned, battle for the lead with these guys. Chris Stouffer trying to defend his lead. Diaz, Andreas Ike. Now we're talking about Ike. Once he gets back in traffic, not going to be in the best case scenario. I kind of expect him to start dropping more and more. And really nothing he could have done. I mean, you couldn't have foreseen every single other car coming down pit lane except for him. But actually, he's actually coming back a little bit here on the front straightaway.
Yeah, he's actually holding on. So I'm not sure that it was a mistake just yet. I mean, he's not leading the race anymore, but think about the strategy, right?
Yeah, the big thing is going to be the strategy. He's going to drop a complete rock, maybe another few positions, but mostly should remain in the top 5, top 10. Big thing is he's going to have to come down to pit lane in about 10-15 laps to stop up on gas.
And he's also really racing the 91 of Robert Malechka, who's way back in the field. So he can be maybe a bit more aggressive in some of those strategy calls because the driver he's racing in the points is not having a great day so far.
Yeah, well, the thing is, few cautions, and he could easily be up near the top. I mean, he can't be too secure. I'm sure Ike definitely knows that. He's going to try to get every single point he can, minimize the amount of mistakes. And arguably maybe a mistake earlier on with him not coming down a pit lane, but still so early on, he should be able to get back in sequence as everyone else. All he needs is another caution, although technically been fairly green, but a few cars already claimed it out of the race.
Flynn Lazier to the bottom of the racetrack now, running for 3rd on Andreas Ike. 4 cars out of the race, a 5th one down a couple laps. Oster, Adams, Cahoe, and Ante are all out. Alexander Ball is down 3 laps after his spin that brought out the first yellow of the night. That's what 220 miles an hour looks like past the start-finish line. Don't blink.
Even if you don't blink, you can see maybe half a car for about half a second. And that's about it.
And another driver that's kind of working his way forward, Alexander Van de Sande in the number 97, as the 2 battle for the lead up front. 97 car started 24th up to 7th place, and Matt Holleba 18th to 8th, so some big climbs there. Joe Branch is the one that dodged Evan Adams a couple laps ago. Well, he was crashing on the back straightaway and managed to dodge it in Catalyst 317 paint.
Beautiful looking livery.
Out of the inside of Matt Holleba. But up front, these two just continue to battle for the top spot. Diaz on the outside trying to make that upper groove work.
And Ike just kind of sitting him behind. I think he knows he's not really going to fight too much here. I think he's just going to ride in line in 3rd place. Has got a solid position. Flynn Lazier trying to take that spot away from him, but couldn't get it done on the bottom.
Here comes Diaz to the inside now.
And looks like he's going to get him. Wow, in 3 and 4. Also love note update on Jason Brophy. We saw he ended up going to the back of the pack after a collision on pit lane to adjust something on his rig. He's moved up into 10th.
Stouffer with another big run to the outside.
Yeah, that outside lane I don't think is as effective in 3 and 4. Definitely in 1 and 2 you can carry quite a bit of speed because it's so flat, but 3 and 4 the banking is so good on the bottom that they're able to, I feel like, carrying more speed, more momentum out of the corner.
Oh, way up the racetrack. Again, still chasing each other around. Ike still runs 3rd, and here's Lazier and Alexis Newsome battling for position. And David Adams under fire from Alexander Van de Sande, who we mentioned his climb, 24th to 6th, and it continues.
Yeah, I mean, I was expecting him to take a while. I was still even surprised that he was all the way back there at 24th, but just did not have a good qualifying effort. I mean, he had a very slow qualifying lap. I think obviously made a mistake putting himself all the way back, but I was expecting him to take longer to get up here. I mean, we're only on lap, just shy lap 40. He's already up pretty much with the leaders, so very solid climb forward for the 97.
Wow, just don't leave each other alone. They're still nose to tail. Diaz again running away from Stouffer on the straightaway. Stouffer is going to sweep to the right and arc it into turn 3.
Yeah, I mean, they're able, you can see the banking in turn 3 and 4 helping them a lot. They're able to pretty much slot in behind one another, but have to fan out in 1 and 2 due to the difference in banking. That's the only really thing keeping them apart at the moment. You can see them all abreast, fanning out in 1 and 2.
Ike on the outside now. Kind of carrying more speed and using less tire. It's a good strategy, but he has to pit soon, Finney, within the next 5 or 6 laps.
Yeah, I was just about to say, next 5 to 8 laps, he's going to be due on pit lane, so he can't be in this battle for too much longer until he needs to pit. And even for everyone else, too, they're coming up pretty shortly, too. They're already halfway through their fuel run, so they also got to start thinking about pitting in the near future. Oh, never mind. Caution out.
Tony Schauen
on the back stretch.
Yeah, big hit for the 31.
And I'm going to take a wild guess and predict it was turn number 2. Striking again.
Looks like it. Pushes wide.
Wow.
Bam. Same thing as Oscar.
That severe understeer, considering he had no one directly in front of him.
It's a misjudgment, right? I mean, you kind of commit to the corner exit if you lift. It costs you a ton of time. But Schauen just overcommits and then did the same thing that Oster did that took him out of the race 12 laps ago.
Yeah, you can see him let off the steering a little bit, probably earlier than he needed to. And unfortunately, with flying to the wall, everyone's zooming past him, narrowly avoiding him.
Couple drivers. Dan Anch got a good view of that. Let's ride on board with the 52.
And there's the car. Ooh. Good job of slowing down and getting to the inside. But pit stop's underway, and speaking of which, it's a good time for Andreas Ike, because again, as you mentioned, was just about due to come into pit lane, so he's going to be able to stay with everyone else on sequence.
Yeah, very timely caution for the 76, that's for sure. So he will get to slide into his box and take advantage of the timing. And looks like Christopher is going to be the one. No, it will be Pablo Diaz that will win the race off pit lane. 4 abreast behind him, leaving the box.
Oh, and Van de Sant getting a good jump on pit lane, going to jump up to 4th ahead of Andreas Ike.
Yeah, this 97 car is all of a sudden looking like a real threat up front. Was one of the fastest climbing cars in the order and has a faster lap than even Alexis Newsome does overall. So that 97 is looking very, very racy. And is it too early to pick a favorite, Finian? Because I'm picking that 97.
I mean, it is a really solid pick. Let's see. I guess I have to pick one since you picked one. I'm trying to look at who are my options. There are pretty good options up near the front. God, I made the entire top 6 looking all really racy. If I had to pick one, probably say it's the number 13 of Christopher. And also, I guess the the scoring pylon's not working. Besides the fact that the L is not 7 lap, whatever. I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah, well, there's another thing you yell at Kevin at. Kevin, fix your stuff.
You know, I
missed one.
I was surprised to learn that these actually worked at all. It wasn't that long ago that I discovered that these have been working the whole time. And I didn't know that.
For a long time. I think they've been working since like 2014. They actually started getting them to work fairly early on, like 2013, 2014. I remember not being an iRacing for 2. I joined back in 2011. I remember it wasn't too long, and they were like, "Hey, score pylons work." I was like, "Oh, that's cool." Can't really see it a lot, but that's cool. The cool ones are the ones where it's like like on the short tracks where it's like 5 positions. You can actually see it going down the straightaway, and you can see your position. Those ones are a lot easier to see. The pylons, not so much, but not really for you for the fans.
Well, we have those bots in the chat again. I love keeping up with that. Oh, there's more of them.
They're spreading.
Wait.
I think you can keep doing it as much as you want. There's going to be more.
Okay, well, trying to keep up with it. Do our best.
I do feel like it's the same one, though, but I guess not. Because, I mean, I actually don't know. I think we've been deleting. I don't know if we have been reporting them, but...
Well, I just did. Gotta keep up with it. Who falls for that stuff?
I don't know. Some people are really desperate, man.
All right, out of turn 4, Diaz leads the way in the number 22 winner from Motegi. And Christopher in the number 13 rides behind. Now, Stouffer's season so far has had a best finish of 2nd. That came at the season opening race back at Michigan. Since then, his best finish has been 7th, but he has finished no worse than 12th. So consistency has been the key for the 13, but has yet to claim a victory this season.
Yeah, again, keep very close at the Michigan race. I think we were talking about at Michigan the fact that it's been a while since he's been to victory lane. So I think has a chance at remedying that tonight. His car looking pretty quick, so I think he has a definitely solid shot of getting to victory lane. Of course, Pablo Diaz, we were talking about him. Went to victory lane back at Twin Ring Motegi, so another speedway, and also looking very fast. And Alexis Newsome looking for her first win of the season. She's had some pretty solid runs, pretty good shines of greatness. Even at Michigan, I think, had a really good run. I think until she had I think she wrecked or something. Oh no, it was a mistake on pit lane. I think that cost her race.
Yeah, Alexis's season so far has been up and down. Looks like 5 top 10s, but the other races were pretty abysmal finishes. A 14th at Mid-Ohio, a 30th at Michigan. That was what started off the season for, but finally just starting to put things together. 12th at Kentucky, 7th at Milwaukee, and a 6th at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, and with the new team running very strong here. And outrunning the teammate as Oster sits in pit lane with a damaged car. Newsome is up in 3rd. Pace car pulls off. This time it's Pablo Diaz in command of the field, number 22. Then it's Stouffer, Newsome, Van de Sant, Andreas Ike. Green flag back in the air. Shuffling for position up front, but Stouffer remains 2nd. Then it's Van de Sant and Newsome. Then Flynn Lazier on the bottom. Flynn is a guy we have not talked extensively about in that Spark VR team, but here he is. In Vail, Colorado.
Yeah, only made a few starts this season. Was at Iowa, ended up starting 11th, finishing 26th, led a few laps there. But then had a run last week at Laguna Seca, started 3rd, almost won the race. He was fighting with Andreas Ike for the win there. Didn't get it, but has a shot here tonight. Also taking a look a little bit further back, there's David Adams, Jason Brophy, Joe Branch, all fighting for 7th place.
Yeah, Branch in that Catalyst 317 car. There he is. Got spectacular memories on the rear engine cover as well. Has a good run on the Intense Racing car in front of him. That being David Adams in the 00. And here comes Brophy to the outside. Branch going to try the middle.
It's so tempting that middle lane, but you know it's going to close up and you're probably going to have to back out and lose a ton of momentum on the straight. So very tempting, but smart drivers know not to really fall for that.
Logan Simmons, trouble for the 92. The dive to the inside.
I have a feeling.
Yep.
You know what happened here. Copy and paste, just like your homework assignment.
We're understeer right there in front of the 5 with Marshall Stanley, and bam, into the outside wall. Also should note the team change for the 00 as Logan Simmons hits pit lane. No longer a Sadie Sim Autosport car. Intense Racing for the 00. John Downing still repping the Sadie livery, back in 18th at the moment. Mid-season team shuffles. I can't recall seeing as many of them in the past as we have this year, which is an interesting development, I have to say.
Yeah, it is. When I guess some teams fall apart, or guys doing really well, especially a lot of the newer people, and people looking and saying, hey, that driver is a good asset. Like we saw with Newsome getting picked up by Team I5G with Jacob Oster. Of course, Oster getting crashed out early on, but I mean, solid pickup because she's putting some solid points towards that team, running up in 5th.
Also have to imagine the drivers, if they haven't been, impressed with their results, they might want to shuffle teams just to try something different. And I think in David Adams' case, so far so good. And for Intense Racing up inside the top 10. The beginning of his season was pretty abysmal, and not really his own doing, just bad luck. But things are looking up for the 00 right now. Up front, a little bit of battling here. Van de Sant clears Lazier, and Stouffer now all over the back of the 22 and hunting for that lead spot.
Yeah, trying to get a little more intense up near the top of the order as they're approaching closer and closer to halfway. Oh, Ben's in a very solid run, and Stouffer almost rear ends him.
Van de Sant creeps into the mix now as high as he's been all day. Behind him, look at Alexis Newsome all over the back of Flynn Lazier. But this 97, again, really impressed with the pace he's got. Came from the back to the front, and now chasing Stouffer and Diaz for that top spot with a big head of steam here.
And Jason, bro, I just saw looking at that wide angle, you see the yellow car. Jason Brophy finally back in the mix of things after being down on pit lane. Again, had to jump out of his car to fix something that had damage. Had to go pretty much all the way to the back to fix it. Is back near the top. Quinn Lazier and Van de Sant now fighting for position. Lazier going to be up into third.
Yeah, Van de Sant didn't have a very good lap. That will let the 3-car get around, and Newsome's going to go the high side again. Very interesting run that Newsome has had, running the outside lane for the majority of the race. We haven't seen anyone as committed in the top side as Alexis, so that's an interesting development. I wonder how that'll play later in the run, later in the night, when Alexis has to start making moves to pass, if she's going to be stuck to that outside, if that's where that Team i5G setup is set up for.
Yeah, I think also just trying to preserve some tire life instead of forcing the car back down low where you're scrubbing off the tires, trying to keep it down low with the low banking. I think is part of it. There you see Robert Malechka all the way in the back. Still fighting through the order, just got around AJ Musselman, is actually trying to hold him up in the 54 as he gets a run off of turn 4.
The reason I was going to bring up Malechka is because he's no longer all the way in the back. He's up to 11th and working on cracking the top 10. And going back to that battle between himself and Andreas Ike.
Well, I say that because he's still down from where he started.
That's true.
Back in 11th, up starting in 10th, so hasn't really made any gains this race.
It's a long play, though. Malechka's not had the best qualifying efforts, but he races a lot better than he qualifies. And look at Flynn Lazier to the inside of turn 1. Big dive there, but can't hold the pace through the corner.
Yeah, folks knows you can see the wash. Being stuck with that inside lane, you pretty much have to back out.
Van de Sant back by Lazier on the inside, makes that pass complete.
Van de Sant, Lazier going to try to get to him on the inside. This is tough, though. He has to get clear before they get to turn 1 because Lazier is going to have to back off. It was clear, but he gets stuck in that dirty air. You can see Van de Sant is able to rip the outside lane and get around.
Really impressed by how much.
Oh, and here comes the inside Newsome. Going to try to get it in 3 and 4. Should be able to do so.
Yeah, that outside groove, especially if you've got aero wash from the driver in front on the inside, the outside just looks like a cheat code. You're going so fast up there in comparison to the inside. That might be what Newsome's trying to use right now to her advantage as Van de Sant rides the rim again, maybe discovering what the 63 has been doing all this time.
In the back, I see Andreas Ike slowly slipping more into the hand of Jason Brophy. Haven't seen a whole lot of Ike this run. Been fairly quiet.
Remember, he sat on pole, so he had track position. He hasn't really had to fight and battle yet, and he's lifting and being pretty conservative here. Again, just being careful. Remember how it all unraveled for him last season, Finney, and it was getting in crashes towards the end of the year that kind of did him in. So I think being very careful and conservative at this point in the season for him is a good thing. The pace is there. He just needs to be consistent with it.
And with that, Brophy's going to get past Dave Adams also sitting behind, looking at making a move on into 76. Still looking at the battle for the lead, though, between Diaz, Stouffer, and Nissan.
How can you not? They've not been separated by more than a quarter of a second the entire race. No matter what lap we've been on, we're working lap number 63 of 167 in the Catalyst 317 here in Texas. Triple Crown race. And Nissan creeping back into the mix from third, but this has kind of been where he's stalled out. He has not really been able to take the fight to second or first and stay there yet.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how the car is going to do in clean air when it's out in front, because guys like Diaz, Stouffer, their car is pretty solid up in the front, but for Van de Sant, I haven't seen him really in clean air. He's been struggling working through traffic the entirety of the race, so hasn't had a chance to get back up there. Well, he's been pretty good down on pit lane, just due to either luck or just getting in and out pretty quickly. So we'll see if he can try to muster something up here to get himself to the front.
Here's Malechka battling Holaba for 10th, and this is where things get interesting because Ike is on the same strategy as everybody else now after deviating at that first yellow, and he is falling into the clutches of Malechka. That 76 not as well set up for traffic as it was for the lead.
Yeah, this is really surprising. I'm curious if it's also not just being in the back, but also as the night starts to get more and more settled and the track's going to get much better than it was. I mean, it was already pretty cool at the beginning, but I'm curious to see that maybe also playing to effect with some of these guys' setups.
Well, we're not going to fall too much further because the air temp is only ambient 68, so I don't think we're going to see a lot of...
What do we start at?
68 and 70, so nothing has changed yet. So that might mean that what you got is what you got, unfortunately, for the 76. Oh, Brophy to the inside of Lazier. They touch. Lazier slams the wall in turn 3. Caution out.
Wow, I was surprised.
And back down the racetrack.
I think that's the first car-to-car contact wreck we've seen. Everyone else has made contact with the wall. And Lazier able to get his car righted in the right direction. Had some suspension damage to his left front, and that's how it started.
Yeah, Brophy just went for a pass down there, kind of late on the back straightaway. Here's another look at it. And just kind of dives. Kind of an optimistic move there, but I don't know. You could probably argue that both ways, Finian.
Yeah, well, again, glad I'm not the admin. they're the ones going to have to deal with the penalty. Someone maybe put at fault for that. I'll leave it up to their discretion.
Yeah,
I would
late
say
move there.
Yeah, I would say it's more on Brophy, if anything, but I mean, you could argue that Lazier did leave the door open, so
yeah,
we'll see.
They did sign up for a race, so there's that too.
It's a move.
Well, Lazier is going to have his solid run dashed here as the field hits pit lane again at lap number 70. And just under 100 laps to go, so we're going to start to kind of run this race in reverse at this point. How many more times do I need to pit? When do I need to pit? Diaz beats Stouffer off pit lane, then Van de Sant third, Newsome fourth, David Adams fifth, and Brophy in sixth.
Yes, I'm looking at it at the moment off the top of my head. I can tell you they're going to have to pit 2 more times because, again, they can go around 40 laps, give or take a few extra laps on a tank of gas. So they are going to definitely have to come in at least 2 more times before the end of it. I guess the big thing is going to be a matter of when they're going to make those pit stops.
Well, at least 2 pit stops left to go. We're going to step away and show you one of those awesome Catalyst 317 productions. We'll be back for the restart in a few minutes.
Your history shapes you.
All my life, that's all I ever wanted to do was be a racing driver.
I'd say I was probably 14. The switch flipped in my brain to really start taking it as seriously as possible and dedicate my life to becoming an IndyCar driver.
My dad and I were always major into it. Our #1 passion was racing.
Go-kart school in Las Vegas, and that's really when I fell in love with racing, and I knew that this is something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
Your heroes inspire you.
I think the biggest person, though, had to have been Dan Weldon. Just the kind of character he was off the track and how humble and how amazing he was.
My hero was my dad. He was my #1 supporter.
We did, Ed. We did it, man. With the 500. How about that?
But also where I learned a lot about who I wanted to be as a man.
Your heartbreaks test you.
My biggest one was 1992.
If a man ever deserved the accolade of this gigantic crowd, it's Michael Andretti.
We totally dominated the race, and only a few laps to go, and the engine quit.
The car slows, and Michael appears to be done.
There was times in my career where, I didn't know if I was ever going to race again. I was going back to school.
The racing heartbreaks, they stay with you, man.
And James Hinchcliffe will not make the Indianapolis 500.
And your dreams drive you.
Oh my gosh, Alexander Rossi, what a move!
Clear. Great job, great job.
You always want to add more. It comes down to winning, but you want to win the Indy 500. You want to win the championship. You want to be contending for race wins on a regular basis.
I would love to say that we won the race in Toronto a couple times and given the home crowd something to cheer for.
My ultimate dream have to be to win the Indy 500. I can't even begin to describe how I'd feel.
You show up to win, you don't show up to finish second or third. Anything less than winning is not that interesting to me.
Back live for the Catalyst 317 from Texas Motor Speedway for the IndyCar Oval Elite Series. Kyle Heyer and Finney Nakuna bringing you the action from Texas as we head to our 3rd restart of the night after our 3rd caution. This time from a contact between the 88 of Jason Brophy and the 3 of Flynn Lazier. Lazier out of the race. Oh, no, he's back on the racetrack. He's just out of the running. a lap down for the moment, but we'll see if he can get it back. That car repaired and looking solid after the incident into turn 3. And again, it looked like an optimistic move there, but we're not the ones that make that decision, so we'll see how it all pans out after the race.
I also noticed, too, Van de Sande playing down on the bottom of the track during the pace laps. I think trying to save gas. I think he feels like he can maybe make it to the end. It's going to be a bold move because these guys are going to have to do almost 50 laps a run, which is, you're going to need to do a lot of saving.
Yeah, make it to the end.
If he's planning on
2 stints, you're saying?
Yes, yeah. make it a 1 more stop, 2 stints, which is going to be a tall order, but hey, we'll see what they can do.
Time to go racing again, lap 72. Pablo Diaz in command at a strong launch away from the field as they hit the green flag once again.
Van de Sande all over the back of Stover's going to have to leave off a little bit, but should have a run on the back straightaway, maybe, as Stover's also getting the tow from Diaz up ahead.
Diaz leads the way. It's a bit of a stack up for second place. Stover, Van de Sande, Newsome. And behind, Halaba and Musselman running nose to tail. This is for 9th. Musselman goes to the bottom in the bright yellow and blue livery. He'll slide up in front of Halaba on the back straight. Almost cleared him. Couldn't quite get there.
Not quite. Should have a decent run on the bottom here. Maybe. Halaba still on the outside, both side by side. Musselman taking the short way around. A little bit of slipstream from the cars up ahead, as he just is barely sort of clear of Halaba.
Stover way high in turn 2 and just building that run again. Try to run this 22 car down, but no one has been able to break the draft and drive away at the front of the field yet. And I think Diaz on these restarts almost is able to do that.
It's a tall order. I think it's almost next to impossible to do at a speedway like Texas, which you may think otherwise considering the way it is, but after it got reprofiled, but it is going to be tough to break that draft. Stover rocketing around the outside in turns 1 and 2. Drag race down the back straightaway into 3 and 4. I don't know if he's going to be able to quite stick there in the next few turns, and unfortunately he isn't, but really solid run.
Again, goes to the outside. If you really wanted to be desperate, you could kind of do the over-under and go to the bottom, but that's a move that you'd reserve for later in the race. We approach lap 80. 84 will be our halfway point.
Oh, Flynn Lazier sideways in turns 1 and 2, almost bringing out the caution.
The leaders almost brought out the caution. They almost crashed each other on the back straightaway. Big defensive move from Pablo Diaz, and Stover to the outside again.
That's the thing, you haven't really seen that big wreck up near the front. These guys have been playing it nice for most of this race, although with 90 laps left to go, I think that's going to start to change.
You just cursed everyone in this field right now for saying that.
I kind of said it on purpose, too. I'm not going to lie.
Mix it up a little bit?
Yeah, you never know. Get interesting, get people angry. I haven't really seen a lot of angry people this year.
Jason Brophy slots into 6th ahead of Andreas Ike, who has not been the dominant force that he was in the opening stints ever since that second caution flag at lap number 50. Big lift for Ike in that Aero understeer.
These two, you're talking about a breakaway. These two slowly kind of break away. They're not going to be clear on the draft, but definitely ahead of Van de Sande, at least for the moment, as he's stuck fighting with everyone else in behind him. How about David Adams running the top 5? Great run for the 00.
Again, new team, new you, I guess, for David Adams running inside the top 5. It's got to be a great way to make things happen. It is all sorts of dicey on the back straightaway as drivers wobble and weave. Here comes Brophy to the outside. Ike going to follow. And the top 2. How long do you continue to do this? They can probably do this indefinitely, but is Stover trying to stay in line here? Or does he want the lead bad? I would say that if he could have it, he'd want it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he's definitely trying, although I guess he's not forcing the issue. Again, we do have at least 1 more pit stop, probably most likely 2 pit stops, so I guess he's kind of thinking, that far ahead, is it really worth potentially wrecking your other competitor out this early on? I don't think he is. So
look out, 3 wide on the exit at 2. That's scary. Brophy in the middle.
Yeah, that was an aggressive move there by all 3 of them. Brophy especially trying to get around and able to do so he's going to win that fight.
Lots more movement now. Drivers are getting more comfortable, and to make matters worse, I guess, there's 17 drivers left on the lead lap. which means that you can be a little bit more aggressive and not pay such a huge price.
Whew.
But at least that's in terms of track position. In terms of getting yourself in an accident, I think that reality is a little bit more clear at this point.
Yeah, big run off the corner for Van Nistelrooy. They had almost a 10-mile-an-hour difference on Brophy. A really slow exit off of turn 2. Made a cut to the inside. Now he's on the attack of Newsome, who we're riding on board in 3rd place.
And Newsome into P3 continues to impress with the new team, Team I5G. Stouffer gets a solid run to the outside of Diaz, but on turn 4, there's not much to do. The short way around is to the left in the dog leg.
He can go shorter in the grass. I don't think many people want to venture off there, though.
Don't give him any ideas.
You can maybe do it at Charlotte with the AstroTurf, but with the actual grass, that is a death sentence.
Newsome took the upper groove, and Larson lined it through turn 2, and that didn't really help her as much as I thought it would. And here's Brophy and Van de Sant behind, and David Adams in 6th with a great view out the cockpit.
Yeah, he's in fact tied for his best finish this season, which was 6th at Mid-Ohio. Next best was 10th at Kentucky. There's only 2 finishes in the top 5 for Adams, but if he keeps this run up, may get his first one tonight.
Diaz out front has been very, very strong. This reminds me so much of the run that he had at Twin Ring Motegi, how strong he was for the majority of that race. He led 51 laps so far in this one. But go back to the race at Motegi and how that race ended up happening. I have to say that Diaz looks like he might be the driver to beat at these speedways here this season.
Looking at his record, finished 1st at Motegi, 3rd at Michigan. Unfortunately, 17th at Kentucky. I think he ran into some issues there, but definitely a lot better at the oval, especially the speedways, as he's currently running up on the front. Stouffer still trying to wrestle that position away from him, but can't quite get around him. And Newsome's still in behind. I'm curious to see what Newsome's got on the table. We were talking about her running that outside lane later on in the run. Is she going to be a threat when push comes to shove? Because again, these guys are still kind of running around. They're pushing a little bit harder, but I don't think anyone's really going full tilt at this point.
Well, Diaz led 119 laps en route to his victory at Motegi, and so far he has led a pretty good portion of these laps as well, and has not shown to be an easy driver to get by. Newsome, though, way up the racetrack and building a run for the back straight, but it doesn't seem to sling you down the backstretch as much as I would have thought. It doesn't seem to be a great way to gain time, but you can certainly disadvantage somebody on your inside by making them lift early.
Yeah, well, one battle I've been watching in behind this lead pack is Andreas Ike and Joe Branch. They've been kind of jostling for position in behind, and in behind both of them is Robert Malechka. So Malechka closing in on his competitor.
A lot of scattering on the backstretch again. And there's Andreas Ike, and again, surprised that the pace has fallen off so much for the 76. He just needs track position. He was so strong out front, and then as soon as he gave up that position, he has not been able to recapture that magic and stuck right now in 8th.
He needs some kind of luck with, I guess, strategy. I think he may actually, for him, he may need this race to go, I think, a big ring and get this pack spread out more. I think it's the only way we're going to see him climb back up. I think with the pack as it is, I just don't think his car is handling well, so he may need the pack to start breaking up and see a little bit of a 3-way breakaway near the top. Diaz, Stouffer, Newsome again. And Adams now up in the 4th. In behind all 3 of these guys. And there's a big run from Newsome to the inside. She sticks with it.
It's a really strong run. She might be able to clear Stouffer, and she does. So move Alexis Newsome into P2. Stouffer goes back down the inside, but can't quite get overlap.
And Newsome actually was running to the outside of Diaz there. Goes all the way up on that outside. Should have a fantastic run of Stouffer. Just got to be very careful with the car on the inside. Coming back up, but these guys are smart. They are also approaching a bunch of lap traffic up ahead. They're approaching Alexander Ball and John Downing just up the road.
Working lap number 94. We're past halfway at this point and into the second half of the Catalyst 317. Mike Kitchell is on pit lane with some damage. 04 Pennzoil car.
And good to guess. through 1 and 2. Gets looking a little bit tight, and off he goes.
Yep, same crash in the same spot that we've seen. Wow, lots of parts and pieces off that car. Same crash at the same spot on the racetrack that we've seen a handful of times tonight. Just turn 2 is Calamity Corner here in Texas, that's for sure. And you mentioned traffic. They're about to get to it. Diaz is chasing down Alexander Ball, who was our first caution of the night. Spin out of turn 2. Preferable to hitting the wall and then smashing the other wall in turn 2.
Starting to see the pack break up just a little bit as they start to approach some of this traffic.
Well, it's also Newsome is second now. I think Stouffer was a little stronger in second place than Newsome in terms of being able to approach the leader.
Oh, and Diaz is caught up on the outside. Here comes Newsome. Big run off the back straightaway. Big block for Diaz. Newsome almost going below the white line. Can't do that in these cars, which you only did just about a tire. Comes back up and going to clear for the lead.
Newsome to the top spot. Here comes Diaz now back to the outside across the line. Lap number 97. Newsome leads that lap, the first lap that she's led tonight.
New official leader on the timesheet should be able to keep it down in turns 1 and 2. Diaz trying to get that run to the outside. We'll have a decent run here in the back straightaway. Go to the inside now.
4 leaders, and 4 lead changes in this race so far. 71 laps to go as we approach the line this time. How long will Diaz sit behind Newsome? Not very long. Back to the front.
Yeah, also these guys got to think about now. About 30 or so laps into their run. Haven't seen a green flag pit stop. Every time you got in close, it's been some. Oh, caution!
No.
Car in the wall.
Stouffer.
Stouffer.
Oh, such a strong run is going to end in disaster for the 13. Now, can he get it off the fence and down to pit lane? Plenty of time. Just same thing. Just miscalculated turn 2 and then bam. Yeah, he knew it too late. I mean, some drivers, you hear them lift, and they just keep going, but he was almost, had the throttle in all the way to the fence. And that will be the end of his attempt to win this race tonight after leading a good portion of laps 11 tonight.
Yeah, if not leading, just off second, third, he was definitely one of the more dominant cars, but unfortunately going to end it in the fence early on.
So that leaves us down to 16 cars that are running at the moment. A lot of incidents tonight, single car mostly, only 1 multi-car incident, which is surprising given how racy these guys have been tonight, guys and girls. Newsome chases Diaz with 67 laps to go.
And Van der Tent's been sitting a little bit ways back. There he is, coming through the frame. Adams, Brophy, Branch, Malechka. And Malechka actually gotten around Andreas Ike through all that chaos.
So that will shift the points situation. Again, they're both so far out ahead of Andrew Wood that we don't expect to see much of a points shuffle.
Oh, yeah. And I forgot what the reason was exactly, but Andrew Wood, I remember him saying that he wasn't going to make tonight, but definitely wasn't sad about that. Does not like this place.
Well, Chris Stouffer is also out, so that could shuffle Joe Branch up position, certainly. Joe Branch running 6th right now. But there will be some points shuffling tonight. I'm not sure it'll happen a lot at the top of the order, but Malechka now beginning to show some strength. And this is kind of the typical thing we've seen for him at the Ovals this season, is he's not on top of the order early in the race, but just slowly and surely makes his way forward. Now has Joe Branch in the crosshairs.
Yeah, I guess he's been kind of waiting for this kind of moment where everyone's getting spread out. He's been slowly picking him up and putting him down, working his way up through the order. David Adams and Jason Brophy fighting up ahead for position there. You see them side by side. Brophy getting a head full of steam off the corner.
Take that spot. Hollaba and Greg Forsythe trade spots, move Hollaba into the top 10 of the 0-2 car. Forsythe fights back. Adams and Brophy still going at it.
Yeah, a lot more jostling for position now. Everyone's getting spread out from that pack. Getting closer and closer to pit stops in the next 10 laps.
Yeah, the stints right now, 37 for Pablo Diaz, David Adams, and Brophy trade spots once again. But 37, 38 laps are the amount of laps run on this stint for the majority of the drivers at the front. That means, as you mentioned, about 10 laps until we expect to see everybody on pit lane. Here comes Newsome.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for her to do this by herself. I think she's going to have to wait for, either a run or a mistake from Diaz, because the last time she was able to get around, she used a lap car as a bit of a pick. And Diaz had a really poor run off of turn 2. By herself, it's going to be a tall order to just kind of work around, because all Diaz really has to do is just keep that bottom lane.
He's been doing that. But how long will someone like Newsome or Van de Sant ride in line? I think they're being pretty complacent right now and not forcing a pass. But when you get down to the last 15 or 20 laps, when you're a little bit more desperate, you're more willing to do the over-under, Finian, and that's harder to defend.
Hearing on the radio, I think Halva...
Diaz to pit lane.
Yeah, Halva's calling that he was coming to pit lane. Diaz was coming to pit lane, so green flag pit stop starting.
Yeah, we have 59 laps to go, so it will certainly be another pit stop before the end of this race.
Yeah, I'm not surprised for Diaz being one of the first to come in, because remember, he was out there running and hasn't really been able to lift a lot and save any gas, so I think everyone else is going to be good by a few laps or so. I hear more guys calling out. Van de Sant coming this time as well. Looks like he's coming in very hot, but slowed that down perfectly. Been nailing pit lane so far. In fact, Forsythe also coming down for his stop.
So pit lane going to be a busy place for a few laps here.
Oh,
This makes things interesting from here on out, though, because you can make this last run long or short, depending on how you want to do it. I think you'd ideally want to kind of split this in two and make 30-lap runs. We might see drivers run 1 lap 40 and 1 lap 20.
Yeah, you have some options, and that's why it's so key of when you pit. Because when you do it, you need undercut some of your competitors or overcut them. And again, when you're talking about tire life, not the biggest issue as far as raw pace, but more so a matter of drivability. So ideally, you want to spend enough time on both sides, but you never know. Maybe want to run a little bit more. You can run maybe 40 laps and then do 20, so you have fresher tires towards the end. So a little bit of strategy to play with as well. And here's what's going through some of these guys' minds with some of these calls is Newsome. He's surrendering the lead for her service.
Team I5G, Alexis out of Ashland, Kentucky, into the box as Brophy takes the lead for the moment. And down to pit lane, he's really fast, too fast, I think. And into the fence. Pit lane has just been his Achilles heel this season.
We've seen a lot of mistakes from him at Michigan. Pretty much taking him out of the running straight up from there. And even then tonight, you had a really solid run potentially for the win. But way too hot into pit lane and now damage to his car.
Now that will probably be the end of the night for the 88. That's just a frustrating way to keep throwing races away. So that will be it for Brophy. Andreas Ike in the box, so is a couple of other drivers. Marshall Stanley is coming in. Malechka is in as well.
Yeah, just actually no, not in.
Not
He's about to come in, I would assume. He's still out on the track, current leader of the race.
Here he comes.
And here he comes. Coming in hot, but slows it down in time.
So this is the interesting thing we should keep an eye on. Look at this. But last lap of a 24.4, best lap of a 24.1. This is not the delta that you'd see between fast and slow in a stock car. The times are not that different. I don't think it's a lot about the tire. I think it's really just about the fuel. And we'll see how this ends up. But he overshoots his box, and that is the critical moment that he made a mistake.
Yeah, it's the last thing you want to do is overshoot your pit stall. It's going to cost you time that you can't really afford to lose.
Up front, here's Diaz and Newsome going at it.
Where they let off and they race around Malechka. You see where Malechka ends up after his little mistake.
And where is
around? Joe Brand should be coming up next.
Going to keep position on Andreas Ike, which is critical. Ike stuck behind Forsythe and Musselman. So that will keep the points advantage to Malechka, and even with that mistake, comes out and cycles through into 5th.
Yeah, Ike working through some of these guys, and he's fighting for position with these other drivers. I should mention too, Forsythe and Musselman.
Chris Stouffer is back on track in the 13 car, runs 5 laps down at the moment. There is your leader, Diaz and Newsome, separated by 1/10.5 of a second.
Yeah, they're 3 seconds clear of David Adams for 3rd, so they got some room to play with here. They got no direct competition against them.
Coming to 50 laps to go, so you're in the window to make it to the end in 5 laps, but I don't think we're going to see people pit right at the opening of the window. It'll be a little bit later in the race. Here's Ike on Musselman.
Yeah, working right around the outside. Forsythe has gotten around both of them.
Oh, almost a touch there into turn 1. Was there a touch?
If not, they got very close to it. And Ike, his car is not handling well at all in turns 1 and 2.
No, not a touch. But certainly was not a far distance away.
And Forsythe battling with Joe Branch just up ahead of them.
Yeah, Branch in the Catalyst 317 livery, special for tonight. Rides 6th right now, and Branch has had a pretty solid season. 5th in the points coming into the evening. Worst finish this season of 19th back in Milwaukee. And it's been inside the top 10 just or just outside of it for most of the season. 2 11ths, a 13th, a 10th, a 9th, a 5th, or 2 9ths and a 5th. So not a bad season, but not a particularly enthralling one. And we'll see if he turns it around the last couple of events and gains ground on the leaders, especially with guys like Christopher struggling tonight. That could be an advantage for the 28. David Adams and Alexander Van de Sant, this is for 3rd.
Yeah, they're just taking a look at these two. Got some ground to make up on their competitors who are 3 seconds and change up the road. It's a great run out of turn 2, runs the high lane, ducks down low in turns 3 and 4, and will get it easily.
Will Adams respond, or will he stay tucked in behind for now? Nose to tail, 3rd and 4th.
And here they come past the lap cars. There you go past John Downing and I'm trying to think the other. I think it's Jacob, not Jacob Oscar.
Christopher is the other car that they're going around.
It's hard to tell. That livery went really dark. That silver is really bright in daylight, but very dark under night.
Because iRacing has no global illumination, and when the night happens, it's night. It's very dark. No moon in iRacing land.
I want that on the shirt. When it's night, it's night.
And I remember I was at an SRO trip to Austin, and we were driving around in the suburbs of Austin, going to a restaurant, and I made a comment about, man, it's dark out. And they go, yeah, Kyle, that's what happens when the sun goes down. Newsome keeping Diaz honest here. And is there any strategy to play on this final pit stop? I don't know if there's much that Newsome can do other than attack the entry more than coming into the box.
Yeah, I think that's her only real weapon at this point. I mean, maybe she could try coming in really early and catch Diaz off guard. It's the only thing I can think of, maybe doing something a little bit more orthodox. And I'm curious to see how much she's going to be willing to risk a solid finish to try to get this win here, strategy-wise.
How about this? Aaron Roofs in the 26, and to the inside of Holiva, kind of caught him off guard. Holiva went to turn in and had to unwind the wheel a little bit.
Solid pass for him.
0-2. Typically it's the short ovals that seem to be where he is advantageous tonight. Hasn't spent a lot of time inside the top 10, battling the 26 car for that 10th spot at the moment. Way high in 1 and 2.
You see the car in behind him too. See who that was.
Jason Brophy, I think.
Oh yeah, that is. I didn't realize he got back out on the track. That makes sense. Brophy 5 laps down.
Yeah, just trying to salvage what he can. Again, for Brophy, we talked about the variety of seasons that drivers have had. Jason Brophy's 6th. And
sorry, David Adams and Van de Sant very close in turns 3 and 4. Almost touching the side pods.
Here's a look at it. Ooh, very similar move to what took out Flynn Lazier. That was really tight. But going back to the season for the 88, he's made a lot of mistakes, but he's only had 2 finishes outside the top 6. So he's been able to rebound. It was a 26th at Michigan and a 17th at Laguna Seca. All the other races, 4th, 5th, 6th, 5th, 2nd this season. So the 88 has been very consistent. We wouldn't think that. Every time we got the camera on him, it seems like he's making a mistake in pit lane, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what happened to him at Laguna Seca. I'm not sure if he was one of the other drivers that we saw go off the track at after putting on new tires. We saw a lot of guys in cold tires really struggle, including Lechka. That's why we saw him pretty much retire out of that race. Actually, he didn't retire. He crashed and then got back in, trying to make up a few points, and that's how they ended up tied.
Notice that David Adams has lost an advantage on the back straightaway a whole bunch of times. Seems like he's struggling with the exit of turn 2. And he's been getting passed into 3 a whole bunch tonight.
I'm a bit surprised these guys haven't had a little bit of a gentleman's agreement just to kind of run single file and catch the leaders, because they are losing time fighting with one another.
Yeah, 3 seconds back from
especially
Newsome.
like that. Wow. He almost made contact, and every time he took the camera off, they were doing something crazy.
Let's go back and look at it, I guess.
He's entering the dog leg here. They see Adams make a move to the inside, and Van de Sink went to cut him off a little bit.
Man, too close. Up front. As we get closer and closer to the end of this thing, there's a look. 37 laps to go. 9
Oh,
changes.
man, they're really close again.
Okay, these guys.
I'm just messing with you.
Oh. Oh, those guys are troublemakers back there. Well, they are the closest battle on the racetrack, so we'll keep our eyes on them for the next few minutes as we approach
I
our.
see a red and white car in behind approaching. As they've been battling, I think, has been costing a lot of time. Like in the last lap times for Bendison, Adams, 24.4s, for Mleczka, 24.2s. And he's in the draft range as well, so he's only going to pick up more.
Yeah, look at them. They're battling way up in no man's land up there in turns 1 and 2. Mleczka the short way around in the power slide 91. And closing in, he could have 3rd place here after all this.
Yeah, and actually, Ike's been able to get around Musselman and Forsyth. He's actually catching up to Joe Brand, so he's been trying to catch up, but is a few seconds back. At this point from Mleczka, as you mentioned, pick up 3rd of quite a few points paid out there. Going to make a dive to the inside of Adams in order to go forward from that, so he's going to have to give up some time.
Defensive line there from Van de Sant into turn 3. When do you make your final pit stop? The window is open.
Yeah, I was about to say the window is definitely open. And I heard something from Craig Forsyth. You mentioned pit window's open, Forsyth in.
Well, that start the waterfall. I think the drivers up front will wait a little longer, but not too much longer. You want to leave yourself some time to make up if you make any mistakes. Last thing you want to do is hit pit lane, make a mistake, and then only have 5 or 10 laps left to deal with it.
Yeah, I will say, though, I feel like if I'm in the front, I'm going to try to run the tank out just in case the caution comes out, especially as guys getting more racy like that as they get off into turn number 1. They're going to get 2 for 1.
Yeah, Mleczka through to 3rd.
Wow. And
what started off as a night that I thought we'd just have Ike walk out of here with the points lead. It's looking more and more like Mleczka. Oh, spin behind him!
Spinning! And there's the caution.
Oh, that changes everything and almost gets clobbered. Lap 137.
Wow. That was unexpected.
Wow. Well, that answers when everyone's going to hit pit lane. Go back and see how this happened. Very fast indeed.
Yeah, I think you're going to see him here. He goes a little bit up the track, turns in a little bit late, and I think just had the car set up a little bit too loose. And making
who was that?
Ike.
Holy cow.
I think he had a heart attack. It almost looked like he actually hit him a little bit.
Well, let's ride on board with Andreas Ike, and this is going to be a scary moment, folks. Hang on. Woof.
That is a scary moment. And looking at his car, it doesn't look like he picked up any damage. Well, he's going to need a new set of overalls because that racing overalls because that.
Oh man, that was passing him at about 180 miles an hour as everybody hits pit lane and final pit stops underway.
And everyone up on the jacks, down they go. And up in front, Diaz and Newsome. Then Mleczka, Adams, Ike, Branch, Musselman, Holaba, and Roos.
Wow. All right. Well, things are going to reshuffle here in a moment. But Pablo Diaz is in command. Now, if I'm Newsome, I've got to be get ready to gear up on this restart because Diaz has been shooting out of a cannon, and it takes everybody 5 or 6 laps to reel him back in. Those 5 or 6 laps could be pretty critical at the tail end of this race.
Yeah, and here's the interesting part, too, is that, strategy, we're talking about all race long, throw that out the window, because we're well under the limit now, and it's going to be an all-out race to the end. So these guys are done saving their stuff. It's a matter of pushing now. And I'm curious to see now if we're going to see maybe the cautions start to increase now that the intensity is going to rapidly pick up.
We've only had one multi-car incident tonight, and that seems scarily low for a place like Texas in an Indy car. I think we're far from out of the woods yet. You're watching the Catalyst 317 at Texas Motor Speedway on Sim TV. Kyle Heyer, Finney Nakuna bringing the action for the IndyCar Oval Elite Series, the fourth to last round of the season. Next week, we head back to Gateway and Worldwide Technology Raceway for our second to last oval race of the season. Then we'll head to Long Beach Grand Prix for a 50-lap run on Long Beach Street Circuit on April 10th, followed by the 7th annual Indianapolis 500 presented by Catalyst 317. That'll be a very special Sim TV production. Don't miss that one. Looking forward to watching it with you up from the virtual booth.
Apparently it's so special I don't even know about it. I don't know what's exactly special about it. I guess I'll find out sooner or later.
You will find out sooner or later. In fact, if you just stick around after the end of this broadcast, you might get to know early what's happening, mostly because you're going to be involved with it, so you better know what's happening.
I mean, that's what I was going to say. It's kind of important that I know.
We don't tell Finney anything until we go on air. We just expect him to figure it out. Sometimes it works.
That's how we've been operating the last 4 years, right?
Yeah, it's scary sometimes how late it is that we're still messing with stuff prior to the launch of a race.
Like yesterday, like how we planned on doing a flyover for 20 minutes before we went green.
Yeah, pretty much that. All right, well, here's a look at our race recap. We're going to be coming to 27 laps to go at the restart. Here's some drivers burning some fuel off. We've had 6 leaders, 9 lead changes. So it'd be 27 laps. Finney, who you got winning this thing? It'd be hard to bet against the 22.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I guess the easiest next person to pick is Alexis Newsome. Both of them in a dogfight the last 40-something laps. I think is going to be the next best pick. Although now with Malechka up near the front, I haven't seen him near the front of these guys all day long. So he's now able to throw his hat into the ring, see what he can do for third place. David Adams, Andreas Ike, Joe Branch all look like they may have some decent cars underneath them. So I'd say really anyone in the top 5, top 6 has got a solid shot at this point.
Let's not count out Andreas Ike also.
And also Van de Sant making a trip back down a pit lane. I was wondering where he went.
Well, he crashed, so probably fixed some damage.
Yes, I completely forgot about that.
That's where you go when you hit things.
He's actually been able to fix that car pretty good, I think. That car's ready to go to the end. He started back in 13th, still on the lead lap.
Well, Pablo Diaz has dominated this one. 97 laps that he has led this race. He led 119 en route to his only win of the season back at Twin Ring Motegi. We'll see if he can get 2 wins this season as we head towards the end. Diaz in command at the restart. He's been really solid every time we've gone back green. Can he do it once more? 27 laps to go. Diaz, Newsome, Malechka, Adams, Ike, your top 5. Green flag back in the air.
Immediately up off of turn number 4, Newsome wasting no time to work the outside lane. Dogfight for the lead, 1 and 2 side by side off into turns 1 and 2.
Almost touching side pods. That was very, very close. Adams with an internet discontinuity issue. He's dropping down to the inside, but Newsome challenges for the top spot on Diaz on the outside. Can she turn down and do the over-under out of turn 4? She's going to try it.
Yeah, I think this is really what you have to do. If you got fresh tires now, you can't really wait a whole lot of time because they're only going to get worse. So this is the best chance you have at fighting the lead. Malechka in behind, also waiting. He can do. He has to break off the corner as he loses some of the air off the nose of his car.
Newsome challenging for the lead. Has she pulled out all the stops? Here comes a big run out of turn 4. Swings to the outside. Can't quite get the overlap, but Malechka is back in the mix now. Newsome can't be so conservative. Here comes the 91 to the inside. Whoever's the most aggressive is going to win this race, not the one that backs out. Newsome's got to figure something out before she loses second place.
Oh, speaking of aggressive move from Ike, racing around the outside of Adams. He's back in this race. He was pretty quiet for the most part. Now here he is, caution
Trouble.
out in the back.
Dan
Descent
Ench,
in the
holy
wall.
cow.
Oh, wow.
A hellacious crash for the 52 of Dan Ench.
Wow.
Upside down and over. And that car is absolutely destroyed.
That's probably one of the worst IndyCar
Oh!
wrecks. Oh, oh my God! That is the worst IndyCar wreck I've ever seen in iRacing.
Yeah, that takes the cake for sure. Oh my goodness!
Oh man! Wow, that reminds me of a really bad wreck at Texas.
Yeah.
I forgot who the driver was. I'm sure someone who's versed in their IndyCar history can say who it was.
Kenny Brock, maybe?
I think, yeah, that sounds about right. But wow, it reminded me a lot of that.
Man, that is unbelievable. I mean, just right here, bounces off the tires of the Christopher car, gets airborne, and then noses into the safer and just starts it on this wild tumble down the back straightaway. And just look at this thing, just over end over end over end over end. And then it gets to the inside here, and it doesn't stop there. Grinds the floor, and then finally comes to rest.
I could say I'm really glad that we're in a sim not in real life, because that would have not been good.
Hold on, folks. It's going to make you sick. Ground sky, 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 ground sky. Holy cow. Wow. And
I'm amazed that car is not in more pieces.
John Downing's view.
He's struggling with some understeer off the corner.
My goodness. Man. All right, I think we've had enough of that. Either way.
I'm trying to see how many spins you did.
You'll be there all day counting, probably.
All right, well, I guess back to the race.
Yeah, I guess so. Jeez.
after we're done mourning Dan Ench. Horrible wreck.
No low ballers, I know what I have. Parting out until our IR18 Indy car. Just garage sales on the backstretch of Texas Motor Speedway. Oh boy. There are some crashes that you have in iRacing sometimes that you just have to wonder, you know, behind the scenes, under the hood of the code, what's going on back there?
It's probably just like a room of people panicking, just like or figuring the physics, figuring out what to do. It's gotten significantly better than what it used to be. It used to be as soon as the car got airborne, the physics would say goodbye, and the car would just spaz out in the air.
It's like when the teacher carries the wrong number in like a division problem. And you're
yes.
What number is that?
Yeah. Basically, it's gotten significantly better over the years, where the cars still do have some sort of physics after they crash air and get airborne. Oof. So that's been better, but you have those moments where, crazy things happen and you see wrecks like that. I will say the new damage wall has been really nice to the Indy cars.
Yeah, that's actually
eliminated the death wobble.
That was the craziest crash I've seen since they've implemented the new damage model, actually.
Yeah, I guess it's also you have to give it weight because there's not too many crashes to see where a car goes flying into the catch fence. Thankfully.
All right, well, time to go racing again with that in mind. That's what the risk level you're playing with is. 20 laps to go next time by. And we'll get a restart with 19 to go. Now, Newsome was pretty aggressive, but not aggressive enough. That allowed Malechka to get to the inside, but Newsome was still holding back. I don't think you can do that because Malechka's not going to wait around. I think you've got to take the advantage when you've got it and swing to the inside and try to spook Diaz out of the way and keep that 91 behind you. If Malechka passes Newsome, I think it's game over for the 63.
Interesting thing, though, is that before that caution came out, it looked like Newsome was actually able to get a decent run off the corner running high. Problem running that high, though, you lose a lot of time to Diaz. So she's got to manage keeping, as you mentioned, she's got to manage keeping both Malechka at bay while trying to make a move on Diaz. Then obviously Malechka is going to be going in guns blazing, trying to get to the front. Same thing as Andreas Ike, because both of them are nose to tail, third and fourth. So yeah, they got a championship on the line between both of them.
Yeah, Ike has been, in the past, pretty conservative about making late race moves like this, and I think this race in particular, he's been pretty conservative. Once he got out of the lead, he wasn't making crazy moves, but now he's back in position to get back by the guy he's battling in the points, and you're not going to get a lot of opportunities like this one to restart right behind the driver you're battling in a late race restart. 19 laps to go. This will be over in 8 minutes if we go green to the end. That would be a miracle. Diaz in command. 19 to go here from Texas Motor Speedway for the Indy Elite Series. A Catalyst 317. Green flag back in the air and a slow restart at the back, but up front, they're gone. Newsome tracking to the inside, now chases Diaz, who's weaving down the backstretch to break the draft. Joe Branch to the inside of David Adams.
Oh, but for the lead, though, Newsome gets a great run off of 3-4 there side by side yet again. Malechka waiting to go. Oh, goes to the inside in turns 1 and 2. Power move from Malechka.
3 wide for the lead. Malechka to the inside. Diaz on the outside. Trying to cover Newsome. Goes to the inside now to throw the defense to the block. The 63 back to the upper groove.
Was absolutely not expecting that dive from Malechka. He's being aggressive. Newsome goes up high. Malechka going down low, almost in the grass.
Whoa!
Going to do it over under if the slipper fits. How about that? Weaves his way through Newsome, and Diaz is not going to be able to hold on, but wow, he is very aggressive.
Yeah, that's what I said, though, right? Malechka's making the moves, and Newsome's just kind of letting Malechka walk all over her at the moment. You've got to be more aggressive. Malechka's making ground doing this kind of thing. He's comfortable with the race car. Now he's going to swing to the right, to the outside.
He's playing with inches, too. Almost ended up hitting the rear wheels of Diaz there, heading off into turn 1. Using everything he's got in the car available. But he's going to have a decent run here off of turn 2 as Diaz went up the track. He's actually going to prefer to take a higher entry than Diaz.
Andreas Ike battles Joe Branch for 4th. Branch slots into P4 in the 28 car. Here comes Newsome to the outside, going to try to make it 3 abreast into turn 1 again. Oh, they touch! Malechka crashes and takes out Newsome with him.
And still no caution, but I imagine you're probably going to see here in just a little bit.
There it is.
Both cars come to a stop.
Wow. Well, the aggression is going to bite the 91. This time turns in, and there's contact there. Not enough room for both those drivers to exist in that space.
Yeah, Diaz apologizing for that. I guess he felt like he didn't turn in lower than probably Malechka was expecting.
I wouldn't really blame the 22 for that, though. I mean, I think wow, look at that piece of debris flying off into the hotel.
Yeah, I think it's more of a racing incident.
Yeah, I mean, the 22 could have been lower, but I don't think he didn't drift up or anything. I think Malechka almost turned into him there, but I think Diaz will have to look at a replay. He might get some more perspective. I wouldn't blame the 91 necessarily, but they just kind of got together.
I would leave that to a racing incident.
Unfortunately for Alexis Newsome, who was, again, being pretty careful.
Yeah, she's, again, just running out something by herself, and all of a sudden.
Grind to a halt there on the upper groove. Well, that'll be it for Newsome.
Yeah, 2 weeks in a row that Malechka has wrecked out after being so consistently quick near the front. Has found himself involved in 2 wrecks back-to-back weeks.
Well, you know, there's an argument that can be made that the 22 should have been on the white line, but I disagree with that, Finian. I mean, we've been racing for 155 laps. We've seen people take a line from the white line all the way to the fence. I don't think you can expect that someone immediately just goes to the bottom and stays there. We've seen people use all sorts of lines tonight and be successful at it. There's a little bit of an expectation that, you know, maybe Diaz goes to the bottom, but there's also a huge part of the racetrack to the right that's perfectly usable. So I think I'd disagree with any notion that Diaz should have been on the white line. It's a racetrack, and you can use all of it.
There's also the argument, too, of, you know, what exactly constitutes the bottom lane, considering how wide the track is. You know, is it right on the white line? Is it maybe a little bit of a lane up from the white line? So you definitely could argue it. Again, leave that to the admins to decide an official call on that. But Definitely Malechka not happy, and I'm not surprised he's not happy with that because
Yeah.
his car is stuck in the garage and stuck in pit lane, and his main competitor is sitting third in line, ready to pick up another few points. And I'm sure Andreas Sykes, a very happy man, kind of giggling to himself because he's going to pick up another huge amount of points.
That's the thing for Ike. He's going to walk away with a huge points gain here, and that's going to be the biggest thing to worry about for Malechka is that it's going to cost him a lot more than it's going to cost the 22. Obviously, the 22 gets away. That might be the worst part of it all, right? Is no matter whose fault you think it is, one driver gets the short end of the stick, the other gets the long end. So Diaz still leads the race.
Yeah. And the big thing too, again, either way if it goes, Diaz gets a penalty, it's still going to benefit Ike. Ike is not involved, so he's going to benefit regardless from the scenario. Well, let's see who we got left for up near the front. It's Diaz, Joe Branch. I mean, we haven't really talked a lot about Joe. The admin, one of the main admins for this series. Fairly quiet season for the most part. Again, we're talking about him just getting solid, consistent finishes just inside the top 10. He's got a chance of winning this in these closing laps, if not a solid podium finish.
Yeah, we have about a 10-lap run to the end. So Diaz, Branch, Ike, Adams, and Musselman, the top 5. How about AJ Musselman in the 54 up in the mix? We haven't really talked about him a whole lot tonight. Started 14th up in the mix in the last couple laps.
Yeah, he's been kind of mired back in the midfield for a majority of this race. Kind of iked his way up near the front. Matt Hollabaugh in 6th has also slowly climbed his way forward. And even Van Descent, too, is back in 9th. And he's been slowly inching his way forward after his crash in turn 3.
So, Andreas Ike in 3rd now. Does he have the pace in the late race restart or the aggression to go for the win here, Finian? He's, again, coming off a win at Laguna Seca. Maybe makes him a little braver?
I guess so. I mean, I'm sure he's just kind of riding a high of just having really solid finishes in. And I don't think he's going to force the issue because you've just been gifted a really solid race on a silver platter. So I think we're probably not going to see him make anything too crazy. I think the opportunity presents itself. We may see him throw it in for 2nd. I'm curious to see how much he's going to force the issue for 1st, though. I don't think it's that much.
Matt Hollabaugh also up into 6th. The attrition level's been extremely high tonight. Have 12 running. Well, I wouldn't want to say that. We've got 10 on the lead lap and about 4 more that are laps down at the moment. John Downing is 2 laps down, then Brophy 4. Followed by Alexander Ball back in 15th, and Christopher still making laps.
And it's crazy to think that only 2 of those wrecks, only 2 incidents really were car-to-car contact. Everyone else was pretty much hitting the wall off of turn 2 or getting a little bit loose on some other part of the track.
Well, that's the challenge with a place like Texas is, I think in the real world you'd be racing each other more than you're racing the track, but tonight it appears that the track has been the tough thing to beat. Diaz, Branch, Ike, Adams, and Musselman with 10 laps in the Catalyst 317 here at Texas Motor Speedway. Diaz, Branch, nose to tail. Can the 22 hang on and win his 2nd race of the season after winning at Motegi? Green flag back in the air, 10 to go. 15 miles to determine a winner.
Andreas Ike already getting a run on Joe Branch. Branch not as good of a launch off the line. Although both of them getting the tow from Diaz up ahead. Ike with a big run. Does he like to go to inside of turn 3? He does.
'76 takes 2nd place away. 9 laps to go. It's going to end in the next 4 minutes. Here he comes to the outside of Diaz in turn 1.
And not able to carry that much momentum on there. Had to get off the gas. Allowed Joe Branch to get a big run. Now looking to the outside in 3 and 4. Can't quite do anything there. Ike now building up the run in the 2nd part of the track. And here he comes onto the front straightaway.
Side by side, Branch with a huge head of steam. Does he do anything within the Catalyst 317 car? Lifts here. Might let these 2 battle it out amongst themselves.
I mean, I don't think so. If I was him, I would be trying to go for the win as much as possible. This is one of the best opportunities he's had all season long. David Adams also trying to get around Joe Branch in behind as he's sitting in 4th.
Here comes Ike on the outside again. No one's been able to defeat Diaz running this outer groove. They've had to sweep over to the bottom. Here comes Branch to the inside of the 76. 7 laps to go.
Carries a decent run off the corner. A huge head full of steam down the back straightaway. I'm curious to see what Ike's going to do, because, I mean, really technically when you think about it, all he has to do is just poke a nose ahead of Diaz before the start-finish line on the last lap, right? He doesn't have to completely get on by. That's a tall order to do, especially see Diaz blocking the bottom lane, trying to block any means of Ike getting ahead. Down the bottom to make him work the long way around on the top.
Here comes the 76 now, 5 laps to go, running out of time. What do you do up here, Finian? You're kind of stuck. You got to cross over at some point or pinch the 22 car down.
I think obviously for Diaz, he's just going to continue to run that bottom lane. So Ike's either got to catch him sleeping or just commit to that outside lane. I think what he's trying to do now is maybe test the water, see if he can get a run on Diaz before they get to that start finish line, but it's really hard to do and you really have to time it right. And plus, too, he's got everyone hounding him in behind, so you can't just kind of sit back and build up a big draft.
Chases Diaz again down the backstretch. It's a little ways back. David Adams has captured third. Hollibutt and Branch side by side for fourth. Now 3 laps to go. Ike coming off a win at Laguna Seca, hadn't won in a couple seasons. Now has just about 3.5 miles left to do something with the 22. He has led the vast majority of the laps tonight. Can he get by Diaz in the final moments here?
He's been right on the outside. I'm surprised he hasn't been tucking in and slipstreaming in 3 and 4. We've seen a lot of people able to do that. I guess he's just planning for one final push on the last lap or so here. He's got not much time remaining, 2 laps to go.
On to the backstretch. Losing a little bit of ground. It's about 1.5, but maybe gaining momentum for a run. About 0.3 back to Adams, who's fighting with Hollibutt inside the top 5. Coming back to the white flag. 1.5 miles left here from Texas. Diaz and Ike side by side at the stripe.
This is going to be far from over here. Ike looking to the top side. This is going to be all about building a momentum, building a run out of turn number 2. See him duck in below just enough to catch that slipstream, and here he comes. Diaz swerving down the back straightaway. Ike looking up top.
Hollibutt goes to the inside of David Adams for third, but Diaz, after winning at Twin Ring Motegi a couple of months ago, is going to come out of turn 4 with battle from the 76, drafting to the line, and Diaz picks up the win in the Catalyst 317 at Texas for the IndyCar Oval Elite Series by 37 thousandths over Andreas Ike. Then Matt Hollibutt, Adams come to the line. 14 thousandths separate them. Hollibutt on podium. Then Adams, Branch, Musselman, Van de Sant rebounds from his crash to 7th. Aaron Roofs, Craig Forsythe, and Marshall Stanley the rest of the top 10.
Yeah, Matt Hollibutt came out absolutely nowhere. Was running, I think, 6th at that restart. Managed to work his way up to 3rd. Didn't really catch much of that, but fantastic run for the 0-2.
Led 125 laps of 167. I would say that is domination. Didn't really have a huge lead the entire night, Finian, but it worked out for him. Finishes on the top spot. And both races that he's won so far, he has been the driver that has led the most laps as well. And while not competing for the points championship, and certainly take away points from those who are. And Andreas Ike will, again, walk away with the points lead after finishing in 2nd, but it's a win that he will not have in the wins column this season.
Yeah, definitely not, but I don't think Ike's going to be too mad about that with the way things played out tonight. I think he was just hoping for just a solid finish ahead of Malechka. Malechka, who will finish all the way back in 16th after what happened to him.
Well, he will get it done and head back to the pit lane. Let's have a look at our race results here tonight. On top of the order, Pablo Diaz gets it done. Andreas Ike 2nd. Matt Hollibutt, David Adams, Joe Branch. The rest of the top 5, Musselman, Van de Sant, Roofs, Forsythe, and Stanley. Remainder of the top 10. And have a look down the rest of the order there, Finian. A couple of drivers who had good nights or good starts to the night but didn't finish well. Brophy, Stouffer, Malechka, Newsome, and Flynn Lazier all out with crash damage.
Yeah, and just looking at how many people retired out of this race, Malechka, Newsome, looking at Lazier. If you go to the next page, you're going to see a lot of other big names struggling as well. Talk about Chris Stouffer, didn't quite get the he probably deserved. Also Jacob Oster, who we lost earlier on, Chris Cahill, Tony Schowen as well. All strong cars getting wrecked out.
Yeah, definitely a frustrating night for some. as we'll wait for drivers to jump in the interview booth. First one up is going to be Matt Hollabo, who finishes in third by 14 thousandths of a second. A great battle there with David Adams all the way to the end. Matt, take us through your fight. It seemed like you were kind of stuck on the outside of the top 10 or just on the brink of it for a while, but you came home P3. That's got to be a pretty happy end of the night for you.
Yeah, my arms feel like they're shaking. They have that weird tingling feeling when something crazy happens. That's kind of what's going on right now. Yeah, I knew I didn't really have a good car. Like, if it on old tires, this thing just like I didn't do a very good job of making this setup. I'm gonna be straight up with you, but like for those short runs, it just like was a friggin' rocket, especially around the outside. I'm comfy down there. I can't really. I've just never been used to running the inside, so I just was doing my best to slingshot around there, and it worked out at the end. I got the run, got on the inside of David, shoved him out of the way. Well, I was not letting him take that inside line into turn 3, and I almost pulled a Ray Hall with like raising my hand up coming to the line. You know how Hinch almost got him right back. That almost happened. I was celebrating out of turn 4, but David put up a hell of a fight.
Well, certainly the momentum is going in the right direction here. We've got Gateway next week. Again, I feel like the short ovals have kind of been a place where you've excelled. So are you excited to head there next week? And then to the road course at Long Beach, or you looking more forward to the Indianapolis 500 at the end of April?
Well, certainly the Indy 500 is the main focus. I'm going to be honest with you, man. I don't 100% know if I'm going to be available for Gateway the next race. Because I may or may not have plans. But if I run it, I feel like I've got a pretty good setup ready to go and ready for you guys all to watch me attempt to try and run the high line there. I seem to run the high line whenever I'm on your broadcasts.
Well, we'll see how it goes for you, Matt. Congratulations, P3 tonight. We'll see you next week.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Yep. Well, Pablo Diaz gets it done here at Texas. Second win of the season for you, Pablo, in that number 22 after winning at Motegi. Tonight, in the final moments, you hold off Andreas Ike and win your second race of the season. How does it feel? And this has got to be a pretty solid evening for you after your oval record this season is pretty good.
Good evening, guys. Well, to be honest, I'm not that happy because you saw what happened there like 10 or 15 laps before with Rob and Alexis. Well, I'm kind of happy, but no, I think that is a win that I shouldn't celebrate that much, to be honest.
We're certainly humble again. Take us more through that incident there, because obviously we saw the 91 and you go kind of side by side into turn 1, and you apologized and maybe slid up the racetrack just a little bit. But take us through, again, what position you were in that corner and why that kind of happened.
Well, that was simple. I had to go to the yellow, to the white line. My car drifted a little bit because I messed up with the wave jacker, and my car just went a little bit high. I collided with Rob, and his car reaction was a little bit weird, but it was my fault, and again I apologize to them, because that wasn't the finish I was expecting to do.
Well, either way, it's going to be a win in the wins column, Pablo. Congratulations, and we'll see you at the next one. What's on your schedule for the rest of the season? Just the ovals, or what's next for you?
Yeah, I will try to do every race, but last week I was a little bit ill, so I couldn't race. Now I think I can do all of the races, so yeah. I'll be there, and I'll try to not wreck anybody again.
All right, Pablo. Well, hey, congratulations either way. A victory is a victory. We'll see you next time, and best of luck to you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Well, unfortunately, the way this ended, unfortunately, I think even Pablo feels kind of bad about that, Finian, but it's just the way it goes sometimes. That's racing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really put him necessarily. I mean, you could argue maybe he is definitely a bit at fault, but I think at the end of the day, it's more of a racing incident between both of them.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of people that can disagree with my assumption, but at the end of the day, I don't care what car you're in, what track you're at. If you go into a corner and you're expecting someone to do one thing and they do it different, as long as it's something different, as long as it's predictable, and they're not drastically changing lines, I don't think you can say, oh, you just crashed him, right?
Yeah.
Again, we saw drivers run. If we were running the bottom all night long, it's one thing. But if you're running from the wall to the line, the driver can run wherever they want, and it's sort of up to both drivers to not crash into each other. And in that case, they both did. I think they both had a hand in it, and that's just unfortunate the 91 got the short end of the stick.
Yeah, but I mean, curious to see now, really at the end of that, actually, if we see if we can get a refresh on the. I know Joe does a really good job at updating the points after tonight. So looking at the next week onwards, 45-point deficit for Malechka that he's got to make up over the next 3 weeks. And as we mentioned, head to Gateway in 2 weeks' time. That'll be March 27th in Long Beach, and then the Indy 500. So going to be some important races for the 91 to get himself back in this championship fight.
Yeah, looking forward to Indianapolis for sure. That'll be a fun one. Full distance Indy 500. Thanks for watching the Catalyst 317 here from Texas. We'll see you in 2 weeks for Gateway.